Commander Alex Stone looked out at the gray landscape of the moon through his helmet visor. The Earth hung in the black sky like a blue marble, beautiful and distant. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child, but now that he was here, the moon felt cold and empty. "Stone, we're ready to start drilling," came the voice of Specialist Amy Rodriguez through his radio. She stood next to a large drilling machine that had been brought down from their ship. The machine looked small against the vast crater walls that surrounded them. Alex walked over to where his team was setting up equipment. Dr. Maya Chen was checking her computers while Dr. Carl Murphy adjusted the power systems. Lieutenant Sam Davis was testing their communication link back to Earth. They had been on the moon for 3 days now, and this was their first real work day. Their mission was simple. They needed to find good spots to dig for minerals that Earth needed. The moon had lots of useful rocks and metals that were running out back home. If they could set up mining stations here, it would help solve many problems. "How deep are we going today?" Alex asked Amy as she started the drilling machine. "About 300 meters to start," Amy replied. "The geological surveys from orbit show some interesting formations down there." The drill bit started spinning and pushed into the gray lunar soil. It made no sound in the vacuum of space, but Alex could feel the vibrations through his boots. The team watched their screens as the drill went deeper and deeper. For 2 hours, everything went normally. The drill brought up samples of rock and dust that looked exactly like what they expected. Dr. Carl Murphy tested each sample and found the usual mix of minerals and metals. Then something changed. "Wait," Amy said, staring at her screen. "Something's wrong with the drill." Alex moved closer to look. The drilling readout showed the bit had hit something at exactly 297 meters down. But it wasn't rock or metal. The sensors couldn't figure out what it was. "It's not registering as any known material," Dr. Maya Chen said, looking at her analysis computer. "The density readings are impossible." "What do you mean impossible?" Alex asked. Maya pointed to her screen. "Look at this. Sometimes it reads, as incredibly heavy, heavier than any metal we know. But other times it reads as having almost no weight at all. That can't be right." Dr. Carl Murphy came over to check the equipment. "Maybe the sensors are broken." "I don't think so," Amy said. "All our systems check out fine. There's definitely something down there, but it's not like anything we've ever seen." Sam Davis was monitoring their radio communications with Earth. "Should I report this to Mission Control?" Alex thought for a moment. Their orders were to report anything unusual, but they barely understood what they had found. "Not yet. Let's get more information first." Amy tried to push the drill deeper, but it wouldn't go. Whatever was down there was too hard or too strange for their equipment to penetrate. She pulled the drill bit back up and examined it. The metal tip looked normal, but their sensors still couldn't identify what it had touched. "We need to dig," Alex decided. "If there's something down there, we need to see it." The team spent the rest of the day using smaller digging equipment to carefully excavate around the drill site. As they dug deeper, they found more of the strange material. It appeared to be black, but when they shined lights on it, it seemed to absorb the light instead of reflecting it. "This is incredible," Maya said as they uncovered more of the surface. "Look at these patterns." Alex leaned down to see what she was pointing at. Carved into the black material were geometric designs that were clearly artificial. They were too perfect and too complex to be natural formations. "These are made by intelligence," Maya continued. "Something with advanced mathematical knowledge created these patterns." Carl was running every test he could think of on small samples of the material. "This stuff doesn't make sense," he muttered. "It's breaking every rule of physics I know." As the day went on, they uncovered more and more of the surface. What they had thought was just a small object turned out to be huge. The black material stretched in all directions, far beyond what they could dig in one day. "How big do you think this thing is?" Sam asked as they prepared to return to their base camp. "Big," Amy replied. "My ground-penetrating radar is showing. The structure continues for at least 2 kilometers in every direction." Alex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold lunar environment. 2 kilometers was the size of a small city. What kind of structure could be that large and buried? So deep under the moon's surface? That night, back at their temporary base, the team couldn't stop talking about their discovery. Maya was convinced they had found evidence of ancient intelligence. Carl was frustrated because none of his scientific instruments could properly analyze the material. Amy was excited about the engineering challenge of excavating something so large. Sam was worried about what they should tell Earth. "We have to report this," Sam said during their evening meal. "This is too big to keep secret." "But we don't even know what it is yet," Alex replied. "All we know is that there's something artificial, buried under the moon, and it's made of materials we can't identify. That's exactly why we need to tell Mission Control," Sam argued. "This could be the most important discovery in human history." Alex looked around at his team. They were all good people, and he trusted their judgment. But he also knew that once they reported this discovery, everything would change. Teams of scientists and politicians would descend on the moon. The discovery would be studied and debated and maybe locked away in classified files. One more day, Alex decided. "Let's dig more tomorrow and try to figure out what we're looking at. Then we'll make a full report." The team agreed, though Sam still looked worried about not reporting immediately. As Alex lay in his sleeping bag that night, he stared up through the clear dome of their habitat at the star-filled sky. Somewhere out there, other intelligent beings had once lived, and somehow evidence of their existence had ended up buried beneath the moon's surface. He had no idea that by tomorrow evening, that evidence would be looking back at him. The next morning, Alex and his team returned to the dig site with more powerful excavation equipment. They had barely slept, all of them thinking about what lay buried beneath their feet. Amy had brought larger digging tools from their supply ship. "If this thing is as big as our scans suggest, we need to see more of it to understand what we're dealing with." The team worked methodically, carefully removing lunar soil and rock from around the black material. As more of the surface was revealed, the geometric patterns became more complex and beautiful. Maya took detailed photographs of every design. "These patterns follow advanced mathematical principles," she explained to the others as she worked. "Whoever made this understood concepts that human mathematicians only discovered in the last century." Carl was still frustrated by his inability to properly analyze the material. "Every test I run gives different results. It's like this stuff exists in multiple states at the same time." After 4 hours of digging, they made a discovery that changed everything. Amy's excavator uncovered what was clearly an edge, a place where the black material curved downward into the lunar soil. "It's not a building," she announced. "It's a ship." The team stopped working and stared at what they had uncovered. The calm, curved edge swept gracefully downward, disappearing into the unexcavated soil. The shape was unlike any spacecraft design from Earth. "How can you be sure it's a ship?" Sam asked. Amy pointed to the curve of the hull. "Look at the aerodynamic shape. This thing was designed to move through space, maybe even through atmosphere. But the design is completely different from anything humans have ever built." Alex felt his heart racing. A ship meant that intelligent beings had not only existed, but had possessed advanced technology. "How old do you think it is?" Maya examined the soil layers around the ship. "Based on the geological evidence, this has been buried for at least hundreds of thousands of years, maybe longer." "That's impossible," Carl said. "Nothing could survive intact for that long." But as they continued digging, the ship appeared to be in perfect condition. The hull showed no signs of damage or decay. The black material looked as if it had been created yesterday. By afternoon, they had uncovered enough of the ship to estimate its true size. It was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. No human spacecraft had ever been built on such a scale. "Look at this," Maya called out. She was examining a section of the hull where the geometric patterns were different. "I think this might be some kind of entrance." The patterns in that area formed what looked like a doorway, though there was no visible opening in the smooth, black surface. Maya placed her gloved hand on the patterns, tracing their design. Suddenly, the section of hull became transparent. Everyone froze. Through the transparent section, they could see into the ship. Corridors and chambers were visible, all in perfect condition. Soft lights pulsed along the walls in patterns that reminded Alex of a heartbeat. "Did anyone else see that?" Sam whispered. The ship responded to Maya's touch, Carl said, his scientific skepticism warring with what he had just witnessed. That's impossible. Nothing can maintain power systems for hundreds of thousands of years. Maya pressed her hand against the transparent section again. This time the material became completely clear, revealing what was obviously an airlock. It wants us to come inside, she said quietly. Alex felt the weight of command pressing down on him. Every protocol they had been trained in said to report this discovery immediately and wait for orders. But they were millions of kilometers from Earth, and this might be their only chance to learn the truth. Sam, what's our communication status with Earth? He asked. Clear signal. We can report this anytime you want. Alex made his decision. We're going to take a look inside first. If there's any danger, we get out immediately. Carl began scanning the area where the airlock had appeared. The atmosphere on the other side reads as breathable. That's impossible, but my instruments are clear. Maya was already checking her equipment. I'm going in first. No, Alex said firmly. We go in together, or not at all. One by one, they stepped through the transparent section of hull. Alex felt a strange tingling sensation as he passed through, as if the ship was scanning him. On the other side, they found themselves in a small chamber with walls that pulsed with gentle light. The air's good, Carl announced, checking his atmospheric sensors. I don't understand how, but we can breathe in here. The inner door of the airlock opened silently, revealing a corridor that stretched into the distance. The walls curved gracefully, and the lighting followed their movement, growing brighter as they approached and dimming behind them. It knows we're here, Amy observed. The ship is responding to our presence. They walked slowly down the corridor, their boots making soft sounds on a floor that seemed to absorb impact. The corridor was sized for beings roughly human height, but clearly designed by non-human intelligence. Look at the proportions, Maya noted. Whoever built this was taller than humans with longer arms and legs. After walking for several minutes, they reached a large chamber. The walls were covered with displays that showed star maps and what appeared to be navigation information. But the symbols were completely alien. This is definitely the control room, Sam said, examining the displays. But I can't read any of it. Carl was scanning the walls with his instruments. These displays are still active. The ship has maintained full power for hundreds of thousands of years. The technology required for that is beyond anything we can imagine. As they explored the control room, Maya discovered something that made her gasp. Alex, you need to see this. She had found a display that showed what was clearly a representation of the solar system. But it wasn't the solar system as it existed today. The display showed Earth as it had been long ago with different continental configurations. This ship has been studying our solar system for geological ages, she whispered. They've been watching Earth evolve. Sam was examining another display that seemed to be showing biological data. I think this is information about Earth's life forms. Look, there are what appear to be genetic sequences. Alex felt a chill as he realized the implications. They weren't just visiting our solar system. They were studying it, studying us. But who are they? Amy asked. And where are they now? As if in response to her question, the ship's systems began to change. New displays activated, and a low humming sound filled the chamber. Something's happening, Carl said, his instruments detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the ship. The largest display in the room lit up with a countdown in alien symbols. None of them could read it, but the meaning was clear. Something was about to happen, and they had very little time to prepare. We need to get out of here, Sam said urgently. But Alex found himself drawn to the countdown display. Whatever was happening, it had been planned for a very long time. The ship hadn't been abandoned or crashed, it had been waiting. No, he said quietly. I think we need to stay and see what happens next. The countdown continued, and deep within the ship, systems that had been dormant for millennia began to wake up. The countdown on the alien display reached 0. For a moment, nothing happened. Then deep within the ship, they heard sounds. Mechanical movements and what might have been flowing liquid. The lighting throughout the control room shifted from the gentle blue they had grown accustomed to a warmer, more golden color. Power levels are increasing throughout the ship, Carl reported, staring at his instruments in disbelief. Whatever was in standby mode is now coming fully online. Alex felt his heart pounding. Should we leave? Maya was studying the displays around them as new information appeared. Wait, look at this. She pointed to a screen showing a cross-section diagram of the ship. There are areas we haven't explored yet, large chambers in the center section. Those chambers are showing increased activity, Sam added, checking his own readings. Something is definitely happening in there. The team faced a critical decision. They could retreat to the surface and report their discovery to Earth, or they could investigate further while they had the chance. Alex knew that once they contacted Mission Control, this situation would be out of their hands. We go deeper, he decided. But we stick together, and if anything seems dangerous, we leave immediately. They followed the ship's corridor system toward the central chambers. The passages were wider here, and the walls showed more of the beautiful geometric patterns that seemed to be both decorative and functional. As they walked, the ship's lighting system continued to respond to their presence. It's like the ship is guiding us, Amy observed. The lights are brighter along this route than the others we could take. After 10 minutes of walking, they reached a massive doorway that had been sealed. But as they approached, the door began to open silently, revealing a chamber beyond that took their breath away. The room was enormous, with a domed ceiling that rose at least 50 meters above them. But what dominated the space were the dozens of crystal pods arranged in perfect rows across the floor. Each pod was about 3 meters long and glowed with soft internal light. Are those what I think they are? Sam whispered. Maya approached, the nearest pod carefully. Inside, she could see a humanoid figure suspended in what appeared to be some kind of fluid. The being was tall and slender, with elongated limbs and features that were beautiful in an otherworldly way. They're alive, Carl announced, his medical sensors detecting biological activity. Somehow, impossibly, they're alive. Alex moved from pod to pod, looking at the beings inside. Each one was similar but unique, like members of the same species, but with individual characteristics. Their skin had a pale, almost translucent quality, and their eyes were closed in what appeared to be peaceful sleep. How long have they been like this? Amy asked. Carl was running every scan he could think of. Based on the geological evidence of the ship's burial, they've been in stasis for at least 200,000 years, maybe much longer. That's impossible, Sam said. Nothing can survive that long. Tell that to them, Maya replied, watching as one of the beings stirred slightly in its pod. I think they're waking up. The team gathered around the pod Maya had been observing. The fluid inside was beginning to drain and the being's eyes were starting to flutter. Complex readouts on the side of the pod showed biological functions increasing. What do we do? Amy asked nervously. Alex felt the weight of making perhaps the most important decision in human history. We wait and see what happens. The pod finished draining and opened with a soft hiss. The being inside took a deep, shuddering breath and slowly opened its eyes. When it saw the humans gathered around it, those eyes widened with what appeared to be surprise and curiosity rather than fear. The being sat up slowly, moving with careful grace. When it spoke, the words were in a language none of them recognized, but the tone was calm and questioning. Can you understand us? Maya asked slowly. The being tilted its head, listening. Then it touched a device on the side of its pod. Suddenly, when it spoke again, the words came through as clear English. I understand you now, the being said. Its voice was melodious, with an accent unlike anything from Earth. I am Keeper Valdris of the Eternal Watch. We have been waiting for you to find us. Waiting for us? Alex asked, trying to keep his voice steady. How did you know we would come? Valdris stood up, moving with fluid grace despite having been in stasis for millennia. We have been watching your world for a very long time. We knew that eventually your species would develop the ability to reach the stars. Around them, other pods were beginning to activate. More beings were starting to wake up from their incredibly long sleep. "Your species is called?" Valdris asked, politely. "Human," Maya replied. "We're from Earth." "Ah, Earth," Valdris said with what might have been a smile. "The blue world that orbits the yellow star. We have many records of your planet's development." Carl stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his nervousness. "How long have you been watching us?" "In your time measurement, approximately 2 million years," Valdris replied casually. "We arrived when your species was just beginning to use tools." The number staggered them. 2 million years of observation. These beings had watched humanity evolve from primitive ancestors to spacefaring civilization. "Why?" Alex asked. "Why watch us for so long?" Another being had awakened and joined their conversation. "I am Keeper Joran," the newcomer said. "We watch because it is our purpose. We are the Chronari, and we observe the development of younger species throughout the galaxy." "Are there others?" Sam asked. "Other species like us?" "Many," Valdris replied sadly. "But most do not survive long enough to reach the stars. Your species has achieved something rare." Amy looked around at the awakening Chronari. "How many of you are there?" "On this ship, 47, Joran answered. "Throughout the galaxy, our people number in the thousands. Each ship watches over several worlds." Maya was fascinated by the implications. "You've seen other species develop like humanity?" "Yes, but most follow different paths," Valdris explained. "Some become incredibly advanced but lose their curiosity. Others develop powerful technology but destroy themselves with it. A few achieve balance and join the greater community of stars." "Which category do we fall into?" Alex asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Valdris exchanged a look with Joran before answering. "That remains to be seen. Humanity has reached the critical point where you must choose your path forward." More Chronari had awakened and were gathering around them. Each one looked at the humans with intense interest, as if they were studying specimens of great importance. "What kind of choice?" Carl asked. "The same choice every species faces when they discover they are not alone in the universe," Valdris replied. "How will you use this knowledge? Will you seek wisdom or power? Will you work together or fight among yourselves?" Sam was growing increasingly nervous about their isolation from Earth. "Our people don't even know you exist yet. But they will soon," Joran said with certainty. "The awakening of our ship will send signals that your instruments can detect. Within days, your world will know that we are here." Alex felt a chill of premonition. "How do you think they'll react?" Valdris looked sad. "Based on our observations of your species, probably not well. Humans tend to fear what they do not understand." The Chronari continued awakening around them, but Alex found himself focusing on Valdris's words. Humanity was about to face its greatest test, and they were completely unprepared for it. "Can you help us?" he asked. "Help us handle this the right way?" "That depends," Valdris replied, "on whether humanity is ready to listen." Over the next several hours, all 47 Chronari awakened from their long sleep. Alex and his team found themselves in the middle of the most important first contact in human history, and they had no protocol for the situation. Keeper Valdris had become their primary contact among the Chronari. The tall being moved gracefully through the awakening chamber, greeting each of his people as they emerged from stasis. Despite having been asleep for millennia, they all seemed to adapt quickly to being awake again. "Your species experiences time very differently than ours," Valdris explained to Maya, who had been asking about their long sleep. "What seems like an impossibly long time to you feels like a brief rest to us." Carl was fascinated by their technology. "How do you maintain stasis for so long without aging?" "We exist partially outside normal time flow," another Chronari named Keeper Thess explained. "Our consciousness moves through temporal streams while our bodies remain preserved." Alex was more concerned with practical matters. "We need to contact our people on Earth. They'll be worried when we don't report in." "They already know something has changed," Valdris said, gesturing toward a display that showed energy readings from the ship. Our awakening has created electromagnetic signals that your satellites can detect. Sam checked his communication equipment and confirmed that messages were already coming in from Mission Control. They're asking for immediate status reports, and there are some unusual readings coming from various monitoring stations on Earth. The situation was escalating beyond their control. Within hours, the world would know that something extraordinary was happening on the moon. We should go back to the surface and establish proper communications, Alex decided. This is too important to handle through helmet radios. Valdris nodded in agreement. It is time for formal contact between our peoples. The team, accompanied by Valdris and 2 other Chronari, made their way back through the ship to the surface. The excavation site was no longer the quiet scientific dig they had left behind. The ship's awakening had caused sections of the hull to become transparent, and lights were visible throughout the massive vessel. Sam immediately began setting up their high-power communication array while the others watched the Chronari examine the lunar landscape with interest. "Your moon is very different from when we first arrived," observed Keeper Joran. "The crater patterns have changed significantly." "You remember what it looked like 2 million years ago?" Amy asked in amazement. "We remember everything," Valdris replied simply. "It is both a gift and a burden of our nature." Sam's communication system crackled to life with urgent messages from Earth. "Lunar Base 1, this is Mission Control. We are detecting massive energy signatures from your location. Please respond immediately." Alex took the microphone, knowing that the next few minutes would change everything. "Mission Control, this is Commander Stone. We have made contact with extraterrestrial intelligence." The silence from Earth lasted almost 30 seconds. "Lunar Base 1, please repeat your last transmission." "Mission Control, we have discovered an alien spacecraft buried beneath the lunar surface. The occupants are awake and wish to establish communication with Earth." This time the silence lasted over a minute. When the response came, it was from a different voice, someone much higher in the chain of command. "Commander Stone, this is Director Harrison. Are you under any form of duress or coercion?" "Negative, Director. We are safe and well treated. The alien beings wish to speak directly with Earth leadership." Valdris stepped forward. "May I address your people?" Alex nodded and handed over the microphone. Valdris spoke in clear, carefully measured words. "People of Earth, I am Keeper Valdris of the Chronari. We have observed your world with great interest for many millennia. We greet you in peace and hope for understanding between our peoples." The response from Earth was immediate and concerning. Instead of wonder or curiosity, the dominant tone was fear and suspicion. "Alien entity, you are instructed to remain at your current location until representatives of Earth governments can arrive. Any attempt to approach Earth will be considered hostile." Valdris handed the microphone back to Alex with a sad expression. This response is unfortunately typical. Fear dominates their first reaction. Over the following hours, the situation on Earth rapidly spiraled into exactly what Valdris had predicted. Military forces were mobilizing. Politicians were making statements about threats to national security. Several countries claimed the right to make first contact on behalf of all humanity. "They're already fighting over us," Keeper Thess observed, monitoring Earth's communications. "Your species has not learned to speak with one voice." Maya was studying the Chronari's records of other species. "What happened to the others who reacted this way?" "Most destroyed themselves," Valdris replied. "Honestly, some through direct warfare over alien technology, others by fragmenting into competing factions that could never cooperate." Carl looked up from his analysis of Chronari technology. "But some survived?" "A few. Those who managed to overcome their initial fear and work together. But it is rare." Alex felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "Is there anything we can do to help humanity make the right choice?" "That depends on whether your leaders will listen to wisdom or be driven by fear and greed," Joran said. Sam was monitoring communications from Earth and growing increasingly alarmed. "Multiple nations are launching ships toward the moon. They're not coordinating with each other. This could turn into a military confrontation in space." The Chronari exchanged concerned looks. Valdris turned to Alex. How much authority do you have to speak for your species? Officially, very little, Alex admitted. We're just the advanced team. But you discovered us, Valdris pointed out. In many cultures throughout the galaxy, that gives you special status as intermediaries. Amy was checking their supplies. We can't stay here indefinitely. We only have life support for a few more days. The ship can sustain you, Valdris offered. Our life support systems are far more advanced than yours. But Alex was thinking about the bigger picture. If we stay here, we become part of the political situation. Nations will claim we've been compromised or coerced. Maya had an idea. What if we broadcast everything? Make the first contact completely public? Sam looked intrigued. I can patch into the global communication networks from here. We could reach every person on Earth simultaneously. Valdris considered this proposal. Public contact rather than government-to-government negotiation. Unusual, but potentially effective. Your leaders won't like it, Keeper Thess warned. They prefer to control information flow. That's exactly the problem, Alex realized. If this becomes about governments controlling alien contact, it will lead to conflict. Carl was excited by the technical possibilities. We could share everything, the discovery, the ship, the Chronari themselves. Make it impossible for any one group to claim exclusive access. It's risky, Sam warned. We could face serious consequences when we return to Earth. Alex looked around at his team and then at the Chronari who had trusted them with this moment. Some things are more important than careers. If humanity is going to face this test, they deserve to face it with complete information. Valdris smiled, the first truly happy expression they had seen from any of the Chronari. This is encouraging. Your first instinct is to share knowledge rather than hoard it. Is that unusual? Maya asked. Very, Joran replied. Most species try to control alien contact for their own advantage. Alex made his decision. Sam, set up the broadcast. We're going to tell the world everything. As Sam worked to establish global communications, the Chronari gathered around them with expressions of deep interest. Whatever happens next, Valdris said quietly. Humanity has already shown us something we have rarely seen, the wisdom to choose openness over secrecy. Alex hoped that wisdom would be enough to pass whatever test was coming. Sam finished setting up the global broadcast system, while governments on Earth continued their frantic preparations for what they assumed would be an alien invasion. Military ships were already halfway to the moon, and several nations had threatened to use nuclear weapons if the alien threat approached Earth. We're ready, Sam announced. I can reach every communication network on the planet simultaneously. Alex stood next to Keeper Valdris, looking at the camera that would carry their message to billions of people. Are you sure about this? Once we broadcast, there's no going back. Your species deserves to know the truth, Valdris replied calmly. What they do with that truth will determine their future. Maya had been studying the Chronari records of other species that had faced this moment. Most governments try to suppress first contact information to maintain control, but some species have succeeded by making the choice democratically. Carl was monitoring the energy signatures coming from the alien ship. The Chronari technology could solve every major problem on Earth, energy, disease, space travel, but only if humanity can cooperate. Amy checked the time. The first military ships will arrive in 18 hours. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. Alex nodded to Sam, who activated the broadcast. Across Earth, television programs were interrupted. Radio stations cut to the feed and internet networks carried the signal. People of Earth, Alex began. I am Commander Alex Stone of the Lunar Research Mission Pathfinder. 3 days ago, my team discovered something that will change humanity forever. He gestured to the massive alien ship rising from the lunar surface behind him. This vessel belongs to a species called the Chronari, who have been observing Earth for over 2 million years. They are not invaders or conquerors. They are teachers, and they have awakened to offer humanity a choice. Valdris stepped forward, his tall, graceful form clearly non-human but somehow not threatening. People of Earth, I am Keeper Valdris. My people have watched your species grow from primitive tool users to space travelers. You have reached a critical moment in your development. The broadcast continued for over an hour. Valdris explained the Chronari's purpose as observers and guides for developing species. He showed holographic displays of other worlds, other species that had faced similar choices. Some had succeeded and joined a galactic community. Others had destroyed themselves through fear and competition. We offer knowledge, Valdris said, simply. Technology that could end scarcity, disease, and the isolation that has kept humanity confined to one world. But this knowledge comes with responsibility. Maya stepped forward to explain what she had learned from the Chronari records. Every species faces this test when they discover they're not alone. How do they react? Do they try to use alien contact for advantage over their neighbors? Or do they recognize that some discoveries belong to all humanity? Carl demonstrated some of the simpler Chronari technologies. Devices that could generate clean energy from quantum fluctuations, medical scanners that could detect and repair genetic damage, communication systems that could transmit information instantly across vast distances. This is just the beginning, Carl explained. The Chronari possess knowledge that could transform human civilization, but they will only share it with a species that proves it can handle such power responsibly. As the broadcast continued, something extraordinary began happening on Earth. Instead of panic or chaos, people began organizing. Scientists formed international committees to study the implications. Religious leaders from different faiths held joint ceremonies to welcome humanity's new neighbors. Students organized debates about how alien knowledge should be used. Sam was monitoring global communications and reporting what he saw. It's incredible. People aren't rioting or panicking. They're actually discussing this rationally. Most encouraging, observed Keeper Joran, who had been watching the human responses. Your species shows remarkable adaptability. But not everyone was pleased with the broadcast. Government officials were furious that first contact had been made public without their approval. Military leaders demanded that the lunar team surrender themselves and the aliens to proper authorities. Commander Stone, you are ordered to cease this unauthorized broadcast immediately, came an angry transmission from Earth. You are in violation of multiple international treaties and security protocols. Alex looked at his team, then at the Chronari who had trusted them with this moment. Mission Control, with respect, this discovery is too important to be controlled by any single government or organization. Humanity has the right to make this choice together. Valdris was studying the global communications with growing interest. Fascinating. Your governments demand control, but your people are choosing cooperation. Maya was watching social media feeds from around the world. People are forming discussion groups, sharing ideas about how to use Chronari technology peacefully. It's like the whole world is having a conversation. That is highly unusual, Keeper Thess noted. Most species either submit to authoritarian control or fragment into competing factions. Your people are finding a third path. Over the next several hours, something unprecedented happened. While governments argued about jurisdiction and military forces postured for advantage, ordinary people around the world began making the choice for humanity. International groups of scientists published open letters calling for shared access to alien technology. Religious leaders issued joint statements about humanity's responsibility as galactic citizens. Even military personnel from different countries began communicating directly with each other to prevent conflicts. They're bypassing their own governments, Amy observed in amazement. Creating their own international networks, Carl was analyzing the global response patterns. It's chaotic but effective. No single authority can control the narrative because everyone is participating in the discussion. The test reached its climax when the first military ships arrived at the moon. Instead of a coordinated response, they found representatives from 12 different nations, all demanding exclusive access to the Chronari. But something unexpected happened. The crews of those ships had been listening to the global broadcast during their journey. When they arrived, many of them refused orders to secure the alien site by force. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Brazilian ship Santos, came one transmission. My crew and I believe this discovery belongs to all humanity, not just our respective governments. Similar messages came from other ships. Crews were mutinying, not for personal gain, but for principles of shared human heritage. Valdris watched, these developments with growing amazement. In 2 million years of observation, we have never seen anything like this. Your species is choosing cooperation over competition, even when your leaders demand otherwise. Is that good or bad? Alex asked. It is extraordinary, Keeper Joran replied. Most species achieve unity through conformity or force. Your people are finding unity through diversity and discussion. Sam was monitoring the global communications networks, which had evolved into the largest democratic discussion in human history. They're actually reaching consensus, slowly, chaotically, but they're agreeing on principles for how alien technology should be used. The principles were simple but revolutionary. Alien knowledge would be shared freely among all nations, used primarily to solve global problems like climate change and disease, and never employed to give one group advantage over another. Maya was studying the Chronari's records of successful species. Is this enough? Have we passed the test? Valdris exchanged looks with his fellow keepers before answering. Your species has done something we thought impossible. You have chosen wisdom over power, cooperation over domination, and openness over secrecy. These are the qualities we look for in potential members of the galactic community. Over the following days, the situation stabilized in ways no one had predicted. While governments continued to argue about protocols and procedures, the real work of integrating Chronari knowledge began through international networks of scientists, doctors, and engineers who collaborated openly. The Chronari began sharing their technology gradually, always ensuring that knowledge spread to multiple groups simultaneously so no one could monopolize it. Carl was among the first humans to study Chronari science directly. They're not just giving us advanced technology. They're teaching us the principles behind it so we can develop our own innovations. Amy was working with Chronari engineers to design new spacecraft that could carry humans to other star systems. They say once we prove we can handle interstellar travel responsibly, they'll introduce us to other species. Maya had become fascinated by Chronari history and the stories of other species they had encountered. We're not the first to pass this test, but we're apparently the most chaotic. They find our approach very entertaining. Alex found himself serving as an unofficial ambassador between humanity and the Chronari, a role he had never trained for, but seemed to have grown into naturally. What happens now? He asked Valdris during one of their many conversations. Now humanity begins its real journey, Valdris replied. You have proven you can handle first contact with wisdom. Next, you will learn if you can handle the responsibilities of galactic citizenship.